And for people of that generation who grew up watching The Cosby Show, for me, it was just a fun show to watch. But for so many, it was representation in a way that had been missing from mainstream television up to that point.
Oh, for sure. And, you did have other shows that were trying to make a point in society. You had Archie Bunker and All in the Family, right? You had kind of shows that were making a social point, right? But this was a different kind of show. The Cosby Show was portraying a successful Black family, right? With love, with humor, with the challenges that any American family could recognize. And that was what was so revolutionary about it, right? It wasn't a family that was poor in a bad neighborhood, and it was a well-off show or a well-off family. And I think for a lot of Americans, that was already sort of something that surprised them, because I think there wasn't as much crossing as far as friendships, right? But then you start to see that the same things that were happening in the Huxtables were the same things that were happening in other families, the Smiths or whomever, white families, Latino families, Jewish families, right? They had the same problems. Their parents had the same angst. And then you had this character that we're talking about with Malcolm-Jamal Warner, right? And Theo. And Theo, to me, I was the same age. So the struggles, the conversations, the clashes that he had with his dad in particular, and the way that they were resolved were very, they were consistent with the life that we were living at the time.
I think, Carl, you hit on it. What I loved about that show was, Bill Cosby was a doctor, Felicia Rashad was a lawyer, but they didn't bang you over the head with it. It was just what mom and dad did,
right.
and they lived in this very nice area, I think in Brooklyn Heights, in a town, and it was just normal.
Yep.
And they didn't make it a socioeconomic thing. It was just kind of the backdrop. And also, it's sad because, when we were talking about George Wendt, who played Norm on Cheers, we really touched on, the communal experience going away and the country watching the same thing at once and having something to talk about the next day.
Yep.
And those things don't exist anymore, absent like a Super Bowl or an award show.
It wasn't this thing, Jeremy. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It wasn't a Black family. It was just a family that happened to be Black.
When I was growing up, I don't think I understood that, right? And to me, growing up in that time period, I didn't realize that it was new or unique to see a Black family on television.
Neither did I.
And I didn't see it this way either, Luis, at the time.